Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Bri.
And I'm Alex.
And this is Thrive, the fitness podcast for the
It's
third
been a
time.
minute. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute. I was going to say for the third time because Alex and I just recorded this intro 3 times, not realizing we weren't recording, and we had to switch mics and everything. And now I'm just like saying this. I'm like, I'm over saying this. But yeah, it's also been a minute since we podcasted. So
it has been. Yeah. We did like those 2 podcasts in the same week. Yeah. And then you went on vacation to the beach.
Yeah.
And then
I didn't have internet for 10 days.
Then you didn't have internet for 10 days.
So we actually
went to the Coldplay concert.
But that wasn't...
That interrupted our personal meeting.
It was literally... So the week before I went to the beach, I was like, Alex, I'm going to be at the beach like with family. I don't want to be recording when I'm there. Let's batch a bunch of episodes at a time. So we did. So we recorded, let's say like the beginning of September or whatever. And then, so we recorded early in that week. We always record on a Monday. And then the next week I was on vacation. And then the next week I didn't have internet. So for basically, actually, I think a whole month, we haven't been on like a Zoom call together or like any type of.
It can't have been a month already, could it?
Well, at least 3 weeks. At
least
3 weeks.
It has to be 3 weeks. It's like we're catching up. I mean, honestly, for the listeners, Bri and I have been talking for the last 40 minutes off recording, just like catching up about everything. Yeah. First things first, you know what we always do? We talk about our weekend.
Yes, we do. Well, we won't make it too long because it's literally been, we did catch up for like you said, 40 minutes, but we'll just kind of recap on the last, I don't know, I guess like 3-ish weeks and what's been going on. So I feel like you should tell everyone about what went on with Forward Forever and just all that stuff. And
so we had Danielle, the dietitian, and I, we did the seminar that we've been working on since March. I think we've been working on it. So 7 months of, working on this, tweaking it, building it, all that, and finally came to culmination on Saturday, October 7th, I think. Yeah, 7th. Yeah. And it went really well. My major in college is in something that people probably don't know about me is my major is in communications. My minor is in marketing. So we had to do a lot of speeches. So I'm not like totally new to like public speaking and stuff like that. Now, obviously it was a virtual seminar, so there's not like, it's almost better when you have that audience there because you can kind of feed off their energy. You can look at their facial expressions and stuff like that. When you're just looking at a camera for 2 hours straight, it's a little bit daunting. The first 15 minutes, I was so anxious and so nervous. I honestly thought I was going to pass out. Like for real, thought I was going to pass out. I didn't. We got through it. Once I started kind of like talking about my sections, I did really long sections on exercise and habit building. And the habit building and exercise was pretty dang good. The habit building though, I like nailed it out of the park. That was so good. I spent a lot of time prepping for that and trying to like understand, habit creation and stuff like that, specifically for this seminar. That was good. We went to this fancy steakhouse. Danielle and her husband, Matt, bought us dinner, which was really nice. We we tried like doing the thing where it's like, no, I'll pay, like that whole with the waiter, like, no, it's $2 bills. Yeah. But like Danielle told me way in advance they were going to pay for it, but you still have to do that. Like, I feel like that's common courtesy. You still have to do that. So tiring weekend, I'll say that, because we flew in Friday. Afternoon, we landed at like 5 p.m. Get to the hotel, grab dinner, grab Chipotle, grab groceries, like food allergies. You just want to be prepped with like protein and stuff like that. And then Saturday, it was the seminar. We went to Dave & Buster's. I crushed it at the arcade. I worked at an arcade for 6 years. So, and I was a manager for 4 of those. And the reason that matters is because like I got like free games like whenever I wanted.
Oh, so you could play all the time in practice.
Yeah. And so and a lot of my friends were working there. And so like you'd go in during hours, and just like you'd have your keys, you'd grab a handful of tokens and just pop, play all the games. And so I was really good at them. And, one of them was the claw machine. And it was this giant claw machine. I'm good at the smaller ones, but it was this giant claw machine. And you could like grab these like plastic squares or diamonds, which had like ticket, associated with them. And Maddie was like, aren't you really good at these? I was like, I mean, I'm pretty good at them. She's like, you should try it. So I tried it. And first one, I go, a little bit left, a little bit right. And then I go over to the side and check like the depth. And I saw the exact one that I wanted. And I'm like telling Maddie, like, this left or forward. She hits left. I'm like, shit, no, this way. She goes, okay. So she does that. And then I like go back to the front, line it up again, smack it down, goes down, grabs it, and it's like kind of shaking, at the top as it's coming over to the box. I'm like, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. Boom, slaps it down, and 250 tickets.
What's the trick to the claw? Is there a trick, or is it just like?
So
is there a trick to it?
Yeah, sort of. So here's kind of. It depends if the arcade company is really shady or not. And I'm not even going to say shady. It's just there are claw machines that have guaranteed wins. And so because you want to have a guaranteed profit on these. And so a lot of machines have guaranteed payouts of like, it will not let you win until you've made X money. And so that might be like 50 tries, 60 tries, 70 tries, 80 tries. And so with a lot of claw machines, what'll happen is they won't close the claw all the way. So they'll claw maybe 85, 90%. Yeah. And so they'll claw 85, 90%. And the owner of that claw machine can go in, or like a manager if you have the keys, can go in and change the number of, attempts. So that, so if there's like one with like a bunch, I'm sure you've seen like the claw machines that have like a bunch of like watches in there and like maybe an iPhone and stuff like that. Yeah. It's like they might have like a success rate of 1 in 400. Where it's like the claw will close all the way. So you can have it lined up perfectly and it'll never, ever, ever work. It'll look like it'll work but it doesn't.
Dude, arcades are a scam.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, of course they are.
I mean, I knew that, but like to that degree, like I knew like I don't know if this is true, but like when you had like the state fair or something like that, like the basketball, like the rims are smaller and stuff like that. Like, okay, but at least like technically you do have a chance to make it in. But like the fact that they program, it's like actually no matter what you try, you're never going to actually win until you spend a certain amount.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm sure the same as like with gambling in Vegas and stuff like that. I'm sure it's the exact same thing, but it's just
the
like.
exact same thing with the slot machines. The house always wins. I know. Wow. Yeah.
I mean, I was never a big claw person anyways, but I just feel bad.
Neither am I, honestly. Yeah. Neither am I. I don't really do the claw machine. So for me to get it on the first try, I was like, dang, I still got it. And it was there was like another machine that I set the high score on first try, and Maddie was just like, wow. Yeah. Like every time, I forgot what show or what movie it was. It's like Will Ferrell and I forgot the other guy's name, but they're like competing politicians. And Will Ferrell looks over and says, "Welcome to the fucking show." That's how it feels when I walk. Whenever I walk into an arcade, it's like, okay, are you ready for this? This is where I go nuts.
That's so funny.
So yeah, that was fun. We went to Dave & Buster's, went to shopping. Then we went out to, the fancy dinner, went to sleep at like 11 and then had to wake up at 3 a.m., get to the airport and fly home and, work all that day. So pretty exhausting, but really glad I did it. Just an awesome experience. The messages that we were getting were so nice, so kind. A lot of people saw a lot of value out of it. So fun weekend overall. Awesome. How was your weekend?
I mean, I feel like I'm thinking like the past few weekends since we've chatted. I feel like I haven't been to. Yeah, I've done a lot. I went out of town to the beach. I went out of town, saw Coldplay in LA, like all this stuff. Yeah, which is great. But I feel like the biggest thing that I'm thinking of that's on my mind is like I have 2 more weeks in my deficit. Like I'm starting week 10 today.
And you're lean.
Or no, not week
dude.
10. Or week 11.
Lean.
Thank you.
Like,
I think I'm finished. I finished weekend too.
I sent some messages to you. I was like, dude, your shoulders are like, have you had any striations popping yet?
I do have striations that are coming out. Obviously, if I flex and I'm in like overhead lighting and stuff, but it's just like, I can't believe I'm in the last 2 weeks.
Are you excited?
That's the biggest thing. I am. I'm more.
You can extend it?
I don't know. I just
wait till that second week.
I'll wait till I get to that second week because I feel like a lot can change. I said this on my last post that I posted. Like I've thought about pushing it longer because it's like, you know what? Once I hit my week 12, like there's like 4 weeks till Thanksgiving when the holidays really kick off. It's like, wow, just push it for 4 more weeks and see how much leaner I can get. Yeah. But I've also been more food focused this past week than ever before. Like I am constantly thinking about what my next meal is and what I can eat and how I can make it fit and all this. And it's not fun, like to be thinking about all that all the time, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And so it's like, could I push it? But I really don't think I can make a decision until I'm in that final week. So
when I was getting like super, super lean that one time, I noticed that like my whole, like my brain chemistry was basically changing because I started hoarding like recipes. Yeah. I don't make meals. I don't like cook new meals ever under any circumstance. And I was looking at different meals. I had a bookmark like section saved for different recipes. I was like, oh, that looks good. I was watching more food videos than ever. I don't watch food videos.
Yeah.
And I was like starting to watch them more. It was crazy how it like changes like that.
Yeah. Like normally I just like kind of log my day. And then like when Sage and I have dinner, then I just log my dinner. But now I wake up and I go, Sage, what am I having for dinner? And
yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
I do normally plan a lot of things, but like I wasn't super crazy about it all the time.
Yeah.
But like last night I was sitting on the couch. I forgot I said this. I was sitting on the couch. We're watching, I don't know, Cowboys game. Yeah, we're watching the Cowboys game.
Yeah.
And I go, do you ever just like get to the end of the day and you think, man, I can't wait to wake up tomorrow and eat breakfast? And
yes,
Sage goes, no.
I know exactly. Oh,
yeah,
he needs to get into it. He needs to get it back into a cut then.
Right. Well, he actually just started when he's on week 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he started an 8-week cut.
Yeah. What's like roughly what's his body fat percentage right now? Like, is he like?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you. I have
He's
no
got
idea.
so much muscle that it's like kind of tough to tell when you have that much muscle.
Yeah, it is. And so I was like, he was like, no, I never feel that way. I was like, well, I do. And he's like, did you hit the end of your calories for today? And that's why you said that. I go, yeah, I did. And I still want some more food. So I just know I'm getting really food focused and thinking about stuff and daydreaming about when I can just like, eat more food essentially. Yeah. So I know I'm getting to that point. And I even said in my recap for last week that I'm just like, there's times where I walk up to the pantry. I'm just like, I want a handful of chips and I don't want to track it. And I'll just like grab a handful. I'm like, screw tracking this, and then I'm like, Bri, come on, like just put something in there. And so I'm just like, I'm having this mentality that I haven't had the past few weeks. And so I know I'm getting that tracking and diet fatigue. So
man, I tracking it isn't a big deal for me. My shift, it will be, well, I can at least go up to maintenance, and I start like bartering with myself in that way. Once I'm like really deep into a cut and it starts getting really intense, like a little bit of hunger I'm okay with. When it's constant hunger around the clock and I'm making the most out of my food volume decisions and stuff like that and my meal timing.
Yeah.
That's when it's like, okay, well, my maintenance is, 2,600 calories right now. I'm at 2,100. I could go up to 2,400, 2,500 today. And it starts like, I start doing that like 3, 4, 5, 6 days of the week. And it's like, I'm not even in a cut anymore.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That's what's also been helpful too, is I've pretty much cycled almost every week, which is tough. Like I'm down 1,600 calories during the week versus normally I'd just cut it like 1,800 calories 7 days a week. And so when it comes to the weekends, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, I have plans or whatever. It's been really nice to have that wiggle room for when I have plans. But there's times where I'm just like, man, I don't have anything going on this weekend. Why am I cycling? I'm like, Bri, just cycle in case something comes up. And I've been like so grateful that I've had the extra calories if something's come up. But then it also makes during the week, I'm just like, I'm not only super food focused, I'm pushing myself to lower calories that I technically don't have to be here, but I'm here just in case something comes up over the weekend.
Now, when you're cycling, when you're cycling your calories, do you do it on the way of like, okay, I want to be in like an X, number deficit. Let's say it's like a 500 calorie deficit. Do you take, do you make sure that on average you're at a 500 calorie deficit the entire time? Or is it like, okay, I'm going to be in a 300, 400, 500, 600 calorie deficit Monday through Friday or whatever days it is. And then Saturday, Sunday, do you eat still in a deficit? Or on those days, do you eat closer to maintenance?
So I basically am just like, okay, I want extra calories for the weekend. What could I realistically eat during the week? And like 1,600, like I don't want to go down to 1,500. I've been there before. I've been at 1,400. Don't want to be there either. 1,600 is a sweet spot. I feel like I can still have some of the things that I enjoy. I can make that work. That's just like my sweet spot. And that's an extra 200 calories per day, basically for me, that I tag onto the weekend. And I look at the weekend, I'm like, okay, if I eat 1,600 calories Monday through Friday, then I can have 2,200 calories on Saturday and 2,200 on Sunday. And then when I get to those days, I'm like, I don't have to go to 2,200, but if I need to, I can. So there have been weekends where I've hit 1,600 calories and then I have plans for the weekend. They get canceled. I'm like, well, why don't I just hit 1,600 calories today and then be in a 1,600 calorie deficit for the whole week? And then I just get extra fat loss. And so I have definitely, I think on week 8, I analyzed the last 8 weeks of my cut. Like I looked back at the 8 weeks, I'd averaged 1,647 calories because there were so many times I was cycling and then plans would get canceled or I'd go to those plans and I actually could make my plans work in 1,600 calories. And I was like, why don't I just push for 1,600? And so having some weeks at 1,800, having some weeks at 1,600 averages, it's balanced out. And I was like at 1,647. And so I'm curious, once I get to the end of the 12 weeks, will I have been in actually a 1,700 calorie deficit versus 1,800, which is technically my goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And I just want to clarify for any listeners, when she's saying like 1600 calorie deficit, she's saying on average she's eating 1600 calories
Sorry. Yes. Thank
and
you.
not like her maintenance is 3200 and she's like splitting that in half to be in theory
Yeah. No, no,
1600.
no.
That's not,
My
yeah.
calorie goal for the day is 1600 calories.
Yeah.
So
And your maintenance is what, like 21, 22, something like that?
no, I think my maintenance is somewhere around 23.
Okay.
The last
Yeah.
time I was at maintenance, I was like maintaining at 23, 24, but I'm also
It's
like
probably
leaner.
dropped.
It's
Probably
probably
dropped to like
dropped a little bit.
22, 21,
That
22 by now.
I think I'm in the 22 to 23. I think
Okay.
I have a very teeny tiny 100 range when I'm at maintenance because to be honest, I don't move a lot more when I eat more food at all. And so I
Oh,
think I'm
I
in this
do.
like, yeah, and so does Sage.
Man,
So
it's crazy. So I do all
yeah,
my tracking with macro factor, which like
right,
adjust it like looks at your calorie expenditure, like
right,
metabolism over time.
right.
Use code Alex for a 2 week free trial. And like the difference between the end of my cut to the peak of my bulk is my maintenance was down to 2870 calories, and at the peak of my bulk it's up to 3200 calories, and it's like it's instant for me when it changes. It
Yeah.
is just, it spikes up so quick. So to have like a basically 500 calorie jump just from eating more, I'm
Yeah.
it's insane.
I don't. But I think if anything, I think because I'm officially 12 pounds down total.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow,
And
wow, wow.
yeah. And I would guess I'd maybe knocked off 100 calories of my maintenance. I don't think
People
it's
don't
that
know
drastic.
how 12 pounds is a lot. Like
And
that's a lot.
I'm starting
8
week
weeks?
11. So
Oh,
technically
you're
10
starting. Okay.
weeks. 10
Okay.
weeks. Yeah, yeah,
10
yeah,
weeks.
yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm averaging like I guess that would be like a pound and a
1.2.
quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So per week.
Awesome. Well
But
done.
yeah,
I mean,
thank you.
that's impressive. I'm loving the weekly recaps. I think it's really, really helpful for people to see, especially when you do
Yay.
the breakdowns of like, here's my weekly average. Like, yes, my weight was up this time, but here's how it
Yeah.
is overall. I'm not making any adjustments. Like how
Yeah.
you did it when you were traveling. I think it's been really, really cool watching that
Yay. Thank
unfold.
you. Cool. You
All
want to go
right.
and get into the topic?
Yeah.
Okay,
Finally.
cool. Finally. Today we're talking about RIR. I think I was telling Alex before we started that I'll let him kind of probably spearhead most of this. It's training stuff. I think Alex is much more passionate about the training stuff and does have more knowledge than me on the training stuff. I think I
I
could do a good
mean,
job.
don't discount yourself.
Okay, well,
I agree with the more passionate, but like I would say you and I are
relatively equal.
relatively
Equal. Yeah, yeah. Anyways, so I think I'll let Alex kind of start us off here on RIR, what it is, and then I may like interject and add some kind of things because I do think this is a more topic that you'd be more passionate to speak. Again, I guess not to discount myself. Like I have a training program. I love training. I push hard. I use RIR in my own training.
If I were to do 6 weeks of your training versus 6 weeks of my training, there would be no difference.
Right.
I honest to God mean that. Yeah.
But I think when it comes down to you and me, when it's like what we're really passionate about, I am so passionate about the food.
Yes.
Not just that food. And I think you're also passionate about the mindset, but I'm very much like the food and
mindset stuff.
A lot of mindset stuff. I think you are mindset too, but then like you really love the training.
I love the training.
If we really had to get down to it. So
yes,
I'm gonna let you go ahead and start and talk on RIR and dive into what it is and all
it's why we're a great team. We're just like we're a puzzle piece that fits together.
Exactly.
All right, so RIR stands for reps in reserve. And so what that means is when we are nearing the end of a set, when we finish a set, I should say, we want to do like this mental estimation of how many more reps do I think I could have gotten if it was like gun to my head maximum effort. Because I think there are a lot of times where we can sandbag efforts. You see people, you go into a public gym especially, and you just see people kind of like just going through the motions and going through the reps really quick. And honestly, they're probably not weighting those exercises nearly heavy enough in order to get, to that 0 to 5 RIR, kind of range with an appropriate number of reps. A lot of people are weighting their exercises where they might need 30, 40, 50 reps in order to actually see that involuntary slowdown of the concentric. I'll talk about what that means in a second. So RIR, reps in reserve, there we go. Now, RIR is just a way for us to gauge how intense a set was and how difficult it was. When we have the number of sets, that's very easy. Okay, there's the number of sets we do. We do 2 sets, 3 sets, 4 sets, whatever it is. The number of reps, if we want to do 10 reps, if we want to do a rep range, which Bri and I, we love rep ranges because it's just the way to go. Because if we tell somebody 3 by 10, it holds no value because trying to weight that correctly, where it's hard enough.
Because we train with RIR and intensity, I think it so much helps that we do a range because it makes it that much easier.
Yeah, it'd be impossible for everybody to like weight specifically because you'd need like maybe 43.125 pounds, It would just be
or it's just like you would have to spend so much time guessing, like, okay, if I'm going to hit 10 reps and try to leave 2 reps in the tank, you'd have to go through so many dumbbells trying to figure it out. And then also you have to remember, okay, well, I was pre-fatigued from the first one, but I wasn't. Versus if you have a range, you can be like, okay, I hit 10 reps. I feel like I have more than 2 reps left in me. I can keep going in the rep range. And we'll talk even how you can go outside the rep range technically. But that's why I think having a program that has a range, I think shows that someone probably is assessing RIR. Anyway, sorry, continue.
Not only that they're assessing RIR, but if it does have ranges, in my opinion, and especially RIR, if a program doesn't have RIR, I'd be questioning that program quite a bit, to be honest. Like if they have like 3x10 and that's it, it's like, okay, well, how hard is a set supposed to be?
Yeah.
Like that's a really important training intensity, in my opinion, is the number one most important thing out there.
Yeah.
More I would say more than sets. And that's a crazy one. More than reps for sure.
Well, let's go outside that. I think almost even more than exercise selection or like the certain exercise you're doing.
Yes.
And we're like, now I'm like looking at our topics to talk about. And I think let's just naturally go with where we're going. But I think the most underdone thing in training is people just don't work out hard enough. It's not that you need glute activation. It's not that you need booty bands. It's not that you need to do some special exercise or pair these exercise or superset this. It's you just don't work out hard enough.
You just need to go harder.
You just need to go harder. And so I think like, honestly, if you just like picked 4 exercises for a leg day and, were safe and performed them well and got full range of motion, just went hard, you could grow really well when it comes to muscle.
I'm going to push back on that full range of motion comment because that is being...
Well, you're thinking about partials, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we could get... I think I'm trying to, make sure people aren't, getting on the squat rack.
Right, and then doing
half reps.
Yeah,
and,
like bouncing at the very top.
Yeah.
So for the most part, I do agree, full range of motion.
Yes.
But if you are listening and you're like, wait, hold on, what are they talking about with length and partials? I don't even think we said that. We said partials. But
we said partials,
If you're kind of wondering, like, wait, should I not be doing full range of motion? Blanket statement, full range of motion is great. For the most part, yes, do it. There's just some new research that is showing that doing some exercises, biasing them more toward the lengthened part of the exercise or where your muscle's at its more stretched position could be better for muscle growth.
Yeah.
This is pretty new research, and so Bri and I will be probably covering that in a future podcast episode, I would assume.
We should.
I think we should.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Yeah, we should.
All right. Going back a little bit. So we covered what is RIR. Now you may have heard of RPE, and these are basically the same thing. They're both ways to track how difficult a set was. RIR stands for reps in reserve. This is a very easy because it's like, okay, I had 1 rep in reserve or 1 rep left in the tank or 2 reps left in the tank, etc. RPE stands for rating of perceived exertion. And this is on a 1 to 10 scale, and they often use half points. So it's the inverse of RIR. So if RIR, let's say I get to the end of a set and I'm like, okay, there were 2 reps in reserve. So 2 RIR, 2 reps left in the tank. It would be an RPE of 8. So they're both 1 to 10. Well, I guess RIR could be whatever, but RIR is a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being absolute hardest. There were 0 reps left in the tank. I could not possibly do another more. 9 is I have 1 rep left in the tank. 8 is I have 2 reps left in the tank. 7, and so on and so forth. Yeah. You don't really have to worry about which one to use. It's not like one is necessarily better. I think for 99.9% of people, use RIR just because it's so much more straightforward. Yeah. But powerlifters specifically use RPE much more. I honestly couldn't tell you why. I'm a powerlifter and like I have powerlifters on my team that like we use it interchangeably. Yeah. Like for it's funny because for their squat, bench, and deadlift work, we use RPE. But for their like accessory work, like RIR, like a katana extension or something like that, we use RIR. And it's like we just use this interchangeably because for whatever reason, they've always used RPE.
I don't know if this is correct, but this is my guess, is I feel like powerlifters use RPE more and maybe almost first compared to other forms of
Yeah.
strength training and weightlifting, because it's like bodybuilding. I feel like guys just got in there and they just went balls to the
They
walls
just
all the
went
time.
hard.
And it hit her. They just went hard.
Yeah.
And when it comes to powerlifting, you need to be strategic in your intensity.
Yes.
And so I think, however, I think RP was probably the first one that started out. That's what got tagged on. And so that's why it's still stuck in the powerlifting world. And then typically how things trickle into health and wellness and fitness is it comes from the professionals and it trickles into the general population. You've probably heard RPE first. Yeah. And then I don't know who came up with RIR. Do you know who came up with RIR?
No idea. Yeah.
I just think, honestly, like you said, that's just a simpler, it's so simpler. Much easier for me to be like powering through something, be like, how many more do I think I can get?
Yes.
And if I'm like, I only have 2 left, I'm like, cool, my goal was a 2 RIR, so I'm going to stop here because I only feel like I can get 2 more. And that just makes more sense versus thinking, okay, like 8, but yeah, I only have 2 left in the tank. But then if I'm doing 12 reps, but I'm hitting an 8, I don't know, for some reason that goes off for me when you change the rep range. But yeah, I don't know. It's whatever clicks for you, to be honest.
And some people kind of get confused. I've heard these questions about like, okay, well, RIR, does this mean at the end of a set, if it's 2 RIR, I get to the end of a set, then I'm supposed to do 2 more? No. It means that at the end of the set, you stop the set when you think that maximal effort, you could get 2 more.
Yeah.
And
if you're going for a 2 RIR, or you could go for 1 or a 3 or
whatever it is. Yep. Yeah. And so why does this matter? Why does RIR matter? Why do hitting these targets matter? We need to have this certain intensity. And, I used to say, and this isn't totally true, I still kind of stand by this, but it isn't totally true when I have said in the past that we need to hit this certain intensity threshold so that our brain, our muscle tells our brain like, hey, we need to grow, so because that next time we need to be more prepared for this. Technically, that is not totally true. And the reason for that is we can actually grow at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 RIR. It's just the volume, the number of sets required to grow at that would be so ludicrously high. Like, let's say we gain muscle at 5 sets per week of a single muscle of going to 0 RIR. This is not meant to be like a perfect transactional,
it's just an comparison.
Example. Yeah. It's just an example. Yeah. We might be able to grow at 8 RIR, but we'd have to do like 40 sets.
Yeah.
Again, this is not math. That's not meant to be like, a relational, whatever. But like the point here is, and we have this later in the thing, but there is an inverse relationship between RIR and the volume required to grow. And this is the same with cardiovascular benefits or, exercise too. It's as we bring the intensity up, the volume required goes down.
Yeah.
And it's like, I like to equate this like going a mile. If we wanted to go a mile and we walk it, the time is going to take a lot longer. Mm-hmm. Versus if we sprint that mile, it's going to go down a lot. And obviously, if we sprint, it's going to be a lot harder. I mean, dude, sprinting for a mile straight. Whew.
Yeah.
Did you see that? You see that one marathon runner?
Broke the record. Yeah, broke the record.
2 hours and what was it, like 36 seconds or something like that?
Yeah.
He was running like a 4.5 minute pace the entire time.
Can you imagine running a 4.5 minute? I think it was
not
like
even 1 mile. Not even 1 mile. I'm saying I couldn't even do 1 mile. I literally couldn't even do 1 mile.
I mean, yeah, I can't. I couldn't do a 4.5 minute mile at all. But I just have to keep in my brain, keep thinking it's like, it's not that he ran a 4. I think it was like 4:34 is what he was running. But it's like he did that for 2 hours.
That is such a fast pace. I mean,
and like, there's people
like
in the Olympics
14 miles per hour.
Compete for that for 4 minutes, and they just do that one. They run for the mile or like Usain Bolt or whatever and stuff. It's just like he did that.
Usain Bolt is the 100 and 200, and then the 4x100, I think.
Yeah, I don't know which one he does, but I'm just like, what? It's crazy. Anyways, that was a great example though with the running.
Yeah, and so and that's the same thing with like high intensity interval training versus like walking. Now there are probably cardio is not my strong suit in terms of like research or like physically. Cardio is not my thing. I need to work on it, I know. But as the intensity of your cardio goes up, the amount that you need to reap those cardiovascular benefits goes down.
Yeah.
So, Bri, for you and I, it's like we just walk a lot. We just hit like a certain step goal and that works for us.
Yeah.
So that's why RIR matters is, if you are not taking your sets hard enough, the amount required to hypertrophy or grow your muscles is just going to be ridiculously high.
Yeah. And to relate that to everyone listening, it's just like what we're trying to say is if you're not working out hard enough, you're going to have to work out longer and do more. And 99 point, actually, I want to say 100% of you guys listening to this don't have more time to be at the gym. You're going to be at the gym for 2 hours, 2.5 hours doing more things because you're not working out hard enough. So it's like, let's make the most of our time. Let's dial up that intensity and let's make the most of the 45 minutes, hour that we're at the gym. So that way we actually can pursue growth in muscle.
If I could go back in time and tell my, like 18-year-old self
exactly
one thing, it would be start working with RIR. And I would do like a 5-minute explanation of what RIR is.
Yeah.
Like, that would be that. And I would probably be like, invest in these companies, buy some Bitcoin, so like that. I'd be a millionaire today.
Throw that in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Be like, tell your parents that you need to borrow $1,000 for Bitcoin.
There you go. Literally.
But yeah, that would be like my number one thing is that I would train a little bit, like not even a little bit, but a lot harder. And like I have videos of me training from when I was 18 and it's like I was training pretty hard, but only on like the big lifts, the squat, bench and deadlift. I would like max out on those things. And then I would probably sandbag a lot of the other exercises because I just didn't know how hard I was supposed to go.
Yeah.
And now I know it's like, okay, I need to be going so hard that I cannot do another rep.
When I think back to my, oh God.
No.
I was going to say, when I think back to myself, I was just saying that I agree. But I was like, okay, what was I doing? And I was like, a big thing that I was doing was chasing the burn. And this is something that I clarify with my clients a lot. It's like the burn is not failure. Yeah. When you feel the burn, that probably means you're getting close. But if you can still physically lift the weight and it's burning, you have not hit failure yet. So it's pushing through that burn until you're like, I physically, again, if you're doing like a split squat or let's say barbell squat, you're in the squat rack, you've got the safeties up so that way you can fail safely. Yes. You're going for that next rep and man, your glutes and your quads are on fire and you're coming up and then you're like, I can't get up. Like I'm pushing with all my might. And then you drop the bar. That is going to be true failure. It's not when you are doing Bulgarians and you're like, ooh, my nice booty burn. And then you just stop. Because I picture myself back at LA Fitness when I was so younger, just like repping it out really, really fast on Bulgarian split squats and then be like, that burns, my glutes burn. And it's like, I wasn't even doing enough to probably grow then. I was just chasing that burn. And so doing it really, really fast was helping me achieve that burn, not actually pushing myself to failure.
And that's actually another good point is, when we move through the reps really, really fast. Now, on the concentric or where we're like doing work to the weight, it's totally fine to explode out of that. But we want to control the eccentric. And if we were to, like, let's take a bicep curl, for example. Actually, a squat is a phenomenal example. If we at the bottom are not just like stopping for a quarter second to control it, and we're just kind of like bouncing out of the bottom, we're using something called the stretch reflex. And it's like a rubber band, if we were stretching out a rubber band and then letting it go, it's like that is essentially what we're doing with our muscles. We're stretching it and then letting it go. And we're getting more of this rebound effect rather than like really, really taxing the muscle as much as possible. So, slow down in the eccentrics, maybe pause at the bottom of reps, even if it's just for a 1/10 of a second, just control the weight a bit more. I think that is definitely something that I would be telling myself, with barbell bench press, I used to just bounce it against my chest, and just like go crazy with it. Now, when I do any kind of pressing, it's like I stop I pause for a second, especially in that, stretch position where my chest is most stretched. And then I press forward with maximal intent. Yeah. That's going to be better for muscle growth and strength development.
Yeah. I pretty much have a squeeze on a pause is a better way to say that. I almost have a pause on pretty much everything. So I'm like, can I truly lift this or was I using momentum? And so things like kickbacks or leg extensions, exercise with the shortened position. I think a lot of times we like to use momentum. Like leg extensions are a great one. I see a lot of people almost like kicking the leg extension to get it up. And then when they get to the top, if I'm like, hey, pause, they'll kick it up to the top and they try to pause and it bounces a lot and they can't hold it. And I'm like, that's because you're using momentum to get it up and you actually aren't strong enough for this weight to truly lift it. Lower the weight.
Drop the weight a little bit, control it.
Control it, extend, give yourself a nice squeeze at the top and then come down. And so that's really helped for, 45-degree hip extensions. I mean, there's just so many like shortened exercises, even like a hip thrust. I mean, so many different ones where you want to make sure you are actually lifting it. And a good way that I keep in my check for that when I look at clients lift is like, okay, are we able to actually hold it at the top of the movement? And
Yeah.
same goes for the bottom. Like you said, like a lot of people in squats, they come down, they almost like bounce off their calves to come up. And it's like, if you came down though, could you hold it right there for just a one split second and then come up? You can't, you're probably just bouncing off at the bottom. So
totally agree. So if you've never used, RIR, you're really not sure, how hard you're supposed to go. This is something that I like to use with my clients. And I think a lot of coaches who use RIR use this, but maybe don't use this term. And that's because I think I heard it from Jeff Nippard one time and he's never talked about it since, but it's
and I had never heard the term. I told you, but when you explained, I was like, oh yeah, I totally do that. But I just had never called it, but I like the term that it's called.
Yeah. And so we call it, I call it at least anchoring sets. And all it means is, let's say I'm like, okay, I'm not really sure how much weight I'm supposed to use on this exercise. Let's say it's like a bicep curl. Again, just an easy example. I might grab, like 15 pounds or something like that. Okay, I'm not going to sell myself short. I'll grab like 40, but whatever.
You're like trying to be more relatable. And
yeah.
Okay, I see you.
So, but let's say I use like 15 pounds or whatever, and I'm like doing bicep curls. I might do as many as I can. I'm going to take this one to failure until I absolutely maximum effort cannot move it, into a full rep.
Right.
It's at that point that I'm at 0 RIR. And let's say I were to get like 10 reps or something like that. I know like, okay, 15 pounds at 10 reps or 40 pounds at 10 reps, whatever.
Yeah.
That is my 0 RIR. And that's what I know going forward is it's going to be right around there. Now on subsequent sets, if I really took it to failure, I'm probably going to be a little bit fatigued. And so my next set, man, I might get 8 reps. I might get 6 reps. If I'm getting less than like 5 reps on the next one, I'm going to lower the weight because, we're going to want to probably get into that 5.
Well, depending on the rep range, I guess that you're set at for whatever you're doing. But yes, I think you're assuming you're probably in that like 8 to 12-ish range. And you're like, well, if I'm only getting 5, then I probably need to lower the weight so that way I can hit my range.
My general rule is 5 to I do most of my work 5 to 12 rep range.
Yeah.
Now obviously that depends. Like lateral raises, doing a 6 rep max to failure, it feels like my shoulders are kind of gonna explode a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's one that I try to lean more toward like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, somewhere around there. It just feels a little bit better in my shoulders. I get like a little bit better stimulus.
Yeah.
But anyways, anchoring sets can be really helpful. I just want to remind you that you're not always going to have your best performance in the gym. Jordan Lips said this one time. He said, for every 5 workouts that you do, 1 is going to feel like a home run. 1 is going to feel like the shittiest day workout of your life.
Yeah.
And 3 are going to be just okay. Yeah. And I think that's a really, really good mindset to have when you're training is like, dude, one day you might set so many PRs. You got the best sleep. You got the best. Your nutrition has been on point. You're coming in. You're hydrated. You're full of energy. You have the craziest workout playlist on. You're caffeinated. Everything is going right. You're on cloud 9. You hit a bunch of PRs. The next week, if you don't hit a single PR, like it's okay because last week you had your best week ever. You're never going to be like strength along with weight loss will never be linear. It will always be, there will always be these fluctuations.
I don't know who posted it. I feel like it was Bill Campbell. But someone posted, I was trying to look for it while you were talking, this like study that came out where they like asked a bunch of athletes, like, how often do you feel like you have home run like workouts? Like they're just amazing over like 4 years or something. And it was like, I'm throwing out random numbers.
I feel like I saw this.
You probably saw it.
And it was like 10 or 20 or something. It was just like a ridiculously
they were like
number.
over the last 4 years. I feel like it was 4 years. It was like a year. It was a long time span. Let's just say year. They were like, out of the last year, how many workouts? Let's say you did 200 workouts in the span of a year. How many do you feel like were like amazing workouts? And they were like 15, 10.
Yeah.
And like the other of them, they were just okay. And then they had like a small that were like just terrible. Like they just were like, they're sucky workouts. And it's just to prove a point that's like, there's so many times you're going to go into your workout and you're just going through the motions. Like there's just not, it's kind of
like 100%
life too. I feel like a lot of life is you have like really terrible,
really, really good days, really, really bad days.
Yeah. And then a lot of it's
80% are probably
coasting,
just like
having a kind of a good day, whatever. You go to work, you come home, you eat dinner. It's kind of the same thing with your workouts, You
can kind of shift that with mindset,
Yeah.
Both with workouts and with life. Like if you're average, if you kind of see it as like, glass half full kind of way, it's like you could kind of see your workouts the same way. It's like, okay, I didn't hit any PRs. Like today, I did a workout before this podcast. I didn't hit a single PR.
Yeah.
but I still had a great workout because I tried my hardest. I took every single set. Don't recommend this for majority of people. I'm different.
Yeah.
I took every single set to failure, and then some even a little bit beyond failure by doing some partials. Again, don't recommend that for the most people. But I was doing 2 sets of everything of each exercise, not like 3 or 4 and beyond. You know, it's like the way I train is lower volume, way higher intensity that honest to God, most people could not consistently work out with the intensity that I have. It's just like they wouldn't want that trade-off.
Yeah.
You know, 1 to 2 RIR is a lot more comfortable than 0.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you've never taken a set to failure before, go on an exercise that, you know, feels safe, feels comfortable, that you enjoy doing something like that. You know, I want to reiterate that is safe to fail on. Like a barbell back squat, if you don't have safeties, don't do that. Barbell bench press, if you don't have a spotter and or safeties, don't do that.
Honestly, even if you have a spotter for barbell bench press, I just wait. Like that's just like there's so many other exercises that you can just there's no human error.
Machine chest press.
Yeah, like, there's no potential human error that could happen with like a spotter. Like go try some other stuff so you feel really confident before you go doing, you know, with a spotter. So
agreed. Yeah, totally agreed.
So dumbbell, you just drop the dumbbells.
Just drop the dumbbells. You know, worst case scenario. Yeah. And go to failure. You know, I've said this before. It's kind of vulgar, but like conquer that inner bitch. Yeah. You know, like if you've never worked really hard in the gym, try it once. Yeah. See how it feels. You're probably going to feel like a rock star. You're probably going to feel like, you know, it's going to suck in the moment, kind of, because sometimes it hurts, you know, a little.
I think good homework to tell, not that we're like finishing up this podcast, but I think like some homework to send people home with, like if you're going this week that you listen to this, well, I guess it's going to be middle of the week because it'll come out on Wednesday, but whatever, for the rest of the week or the week following, just do the whole week where you take your sets to failure and go with the weight that you have logged like in your training. Like if you did bicep curls where you picked up the 15-pound dumbbell and you did 10 reps, okay, cool. Grab that for this week again, but we want you to take it to 100% failure and then compare that. If you only did 10 reps last week, but then you actually took our advice, went to failure where you couldn't actually get the curl up again anymore, and you had 25 reps, that's a great way to see that you're not working as intensely as you need to. So I think that's a really easy way just to take the numbers.
Pump up the weight.
Yeah, take the numbers you're already doing, the numbers you already have, and all you're going to change is you're just not going to stop the exercise until you hit failure, and then you can compare the numbers to see where you're at. And some you might find are pretty good. Maybe you go barbell squat and you're like, wow, I hit 10 reps last week. I hit 11 going to failure. That's pretty, that's good. So I think that'd be a good way for people to implement it without it being overcomplicated.
I marked this as a clip because you should clip this and put it on your social media. That was so good. That homework section was so good. Like I think that's a brilliant way of doing it, is like use the weight that you're already doing and just gun to your head, send it,
full send.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
That was awesome. So now we're going to talk about rep ranges versus RIR, which is more important. And let's just get this black and white answer out there. There's no gray. It's RIR. I mean, that is, like we said at the beginning of the podcast, like training intensity is the number one most important thing. Okay, what's your gray? What's your gray?
No, there's no gray. I think I'm curious why we're even comparing these two, because I feel like it's just we're comparing, like they're both fruits, but it's like an apple and an orange. You know what I mean? Like
sort of disagree.
But
and the reason I say
maybe
that
I'm understanding
is like,
the point that you're trying to prove.
So what I've seen a lot with my own clients, and I always I immediately correct them on this, is like I will see, set 1, 2. You already know where I'm going. I know
where you're going, but explain, because if I was confused, other people may be.
Yes.
So explain why you're saying rep range versus RIR and which one's more important.
Sure.
Okay.
So set 1, 2, and 3. Okay, 3 sets. We have 8 to 14 reps. Okay, and so somebody might pick up like a 20-pound dumbbell, and they get to 14 reps, and they're like, okay, well I'm going to stop it here, and because that's my rep range. But
I haven't hit my RIR yet. Yeah.
Right. They might have 3, 4, 5, 6, or beyond that reps left in the tank, or reps in reserve. And so it's like, which one do you prioritize? You always prioritize the reps in reserve, or that intensity, marker over the rep range, even if you have to go outside of the rep range, and just adjust on subsequent sets. So if you're doing 20 pounds, the rep range is 8 to 14 reps, and you get to 14 reps and you're like, wait, hold on, I think I can keep going. And you get to 15, 16, 17, you get up to like 19 reps and you're like, okay, grinding it out. That was it. maybe 0, maybe 1 RIR. That's where I'm at. Now, in subsequent sets, you know that you need to increase the weight to get back into that rep range. It's not like rep ranges are absolutely totally useless, but I'll be honest, in my own training, I use rep ranges 0 times.
Yeah.
0 times. Now, when I was doing powerlifting, then I had some specific like rep protocols and stuff like that. But now that I'm not doing powerlifting anymore, I'm just doing like hypertrophy or muscle growth or like, gen pop work, I guess we could say.
Yeah.
I don't use rep ranges at all. I do with my clients still because it's nice to give them kind of like a framework.
Guidance. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But for myself, all of my work is 5 to 15 reps. That's it. If I'm going above 15 reps, I'm increasing the weight. And now like I've done every single exercise that I, have in my arsenal, and I have like this log of, however many exercises. So I know what weight I'm going to use. But if I do like, let's say I'm doing like a chest press and I get up to like 12 reps, I'll take it to failure.
But then you make note and you increase that weight.
I increase the weight. I increase the weight because I don't want to go to 12 reps again. It just like takes me too much time.
I feel like when you start training with intensity, we all have this like number in our head where we just don't want to go past. And for me, it's like I'm starting to get in the 10 range. I never want to do more than 10 reps. Now, there's a few things like lateral raises, skull crushers, things like that, where I'm just like, I will.
Some things just feel better on the joints.
Yeah. Or it's just like, the weight jump is too big. And I just like, I have to go into 12, 13, 14, because like if I jump weight, then I'm going to be like down at like 3, 4. And I really don't want to be doing 3, 4 reps, like you said, at lateral raises, stuff like that. So, but yeah, I think it goes to say that what builds muscle is not you hitting 12 reps. What builds muscle is that you work out really hard. And I know you kind of talked about the adapting and telling your body, hey, we need more muscle because we're working out really, really hard.
Yes.
So just keep that in mind. Like you hitting 12 doesn't guarantee anything.
It's arbitrary.
It's arbitrary. You working out really, really hard and taking your sets close to failure is what's important. And the rep range is just a guidance of like, okay, try to hit in this range going to failure. And you can do that math in your head of like, okay, if I did this weight and I was able to get to this number, I can work myself backwards to figure out, okay, where's my 2 or my 1 or my 0 RIR?
Yeah, 100% agree. So in the past, and I'm going to say in the past, not like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I'm going to say like a year ago.
Yeah.
Maybe like 8 months ago. It was kind of thought that 2 to 3 RIR was equally good at building muscle, or at least very, very, very similar to growing muscle as 0 RIR. So you could leave a few in the tank and get extremely similar gains. However, at 0 RIR, you induce a lot more fatigue. And so going all the way to failure probably isn't worth it, and that you should go to 2 to 3 RIR. Now, recently, Zach Robinson and, oh my gosh, I forgot the other guy. But anyways, the 2 guys over at Data Driven Strength, I think they're at FAU.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they did a big, I'm pretty sure it was a meta-analysis that looked at proximity to failure and how that changes muscle growth and strength actually as well. And they found that, and this was, I'm not gonna lie, this was my hunch, was that you can leave a few in the tank and that's fine for strength. And it's like the same for strength. And so for powerlifters, you want to be doing the bulk of your, especially top sets and potentially back off sets. I doubt we have many powerlifters. Might have one powerlifter listening to this right now. Very niche. But like RPE 6 to 7 is probably where you want to do a lot of your like SBD work, your squat, bench, deadlift work. But what they found is that actually going to failure is exponentially better for muscle growth. That is a very interesting finding because yes, while it does incur more fatigue, it's kind of putting it on, what we had thought on its head. And so, I think we still need
more data on that.
I agree. However, it confirms my bias. So I'm rolling with it. And I'm just sending it,
Yeah. I think where this is where we have to be not careful. That's the wrong word because it's not like it's dangerous or anything, but it's like,
some people are already cautious with this.
Yeah, cautious because some people are already doing too much as it is. And they're going to hear, agree. I need to go fatigue. And they're already doing 8 exercises on a leg day.
And they're just like, and they're getting wrecked. They
and now they're
recover
also
from
taking
it
to fatigue. Or to failure. And so,
yes.
but I also think that people we'll talk about this. We could transition to it
Just
now.
yeah.
People definitely underestimate how hard they're working, but I also think people underestimate how much their body can handle as well.
Yeah. Oh
like,
my
I really
gosh,
do think that,
we're not made of glass.
Do what?
We're not made of glass.
Yeah.
Like, I think you can send it.
Even if if you know RIR, you've been working with RIR for a long time, I think you could actually be training in that like 2 to 0, 1 to 0 a lot more often than you think. And that's something probably within the last year I think especially with my bulk, I was like, dude, I've got all this extra food. Like, why not? Why not just like, if I feel fatigued and I'm not recovering well, I'll just change this. And so I really started pushing myself harder more often. And I never saw like a really big downside of it. And so I'm like, I think I'm just underestimating how often my body can handle going harder. And so I've been pushing myself harder more often, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, totally makes sense.
But
yeah, there's a study out there. I don't have the PMID, unfortunately, but there is a study out there that shows that people are just really bad at estimating RIR.
Yeah.
They leave so many more in the tank.
People are bad at estimating everything.
Fair. Yeah, those jelly bean assessments in jars.
But think about food.
Yeah. Oh, you're thinking about food.
Underreport their calories. Like,
oh, yeah.
People's perception of their reality is honestly like not great. Think about like crime. Like, listen to like these crime shows and they're saying, you know, if you don't get a witness testimony within like 24 hours, the accuracy shoots down insanely. Anyways, just to like bring up, but I think it just is like prove a point. But I'm sorry, go ahead and continue.
No, you're fine. Yeah, people are very bad at, when I was doing at estimating RIR, when I was doing in-person training, you know, somebody would get to what they thought was the end of a set, like Eric, for example, he'd get to the end of a set, who would be doing leg press, hack squat, curls, whatever it was. Yeah. You know, I'm not gonna lie, guys are usually better at estimating RIR with upper body stuff, and I think that's actually the case for a lot of people. Because leg stuff, lower body stuff can just like burn more. Although you're pushing back on that because is it maybe just an enjoyment thing? No,
I just think guys in general are just so much better at pushing harder because I think of the stigma around it. Like, to get big, you got to lift big, you know? And for women, they're like, I want to get toned. I have to lighter weight and more reps. So I think with the, you know, eat big, get big, lift big, get big, like, you guys want to take things to an intense level because of how society has built around it.
That's
now,
fair.
Do some of y'all, I'm saying y'all's and guys, have some terrible form and don't actually like rep things all the way like you should? Yeah, but again, you guys ego lift more often, and so therefore I think you go to failure more often.
I agree with that.
So,
and I think it also goes into like enjoyment, and that's one thing I was about to touch on, which is like, if you enjoy doing your biceps, you're going to push your biceps harder. It's just like the way it goes, or like chest or whatever it is. But anyways, so yeah, it's like any of my in-person training clients, you know, we would get to like, you know, maybe 10, 15 reps. And I would sit there and say another, do another. And I'm not kidding. It would be 10 reps more when they thought they were done 10 reps ago. It's like, we weren't even close to 0, 1, 2, 3 RIR. You were so far away. You would have stopped the set there. And there was a recent study that just came out. I literally think like a week or two ago that, looked at like how people perform when somebody's watching them. It's so much better. People get better muscle growth results when people are watching. And, you know, for you and me as online personal trainers, it's like, dang. But I think it's important, you know, for people to understand that, one, like, working with an in-person coach, it might not be a bad idea. At least for a bit, to understand kind of where your limits are, good form, all that. Obviously, there's some great coaches, there's some not so great coaches, but that's with everything, you know, that's with literally every industry. And then two, it might be a good idea to find a training partner, you know, one, for accountability's sake, you know, and two, accountability, enjoyment, and three, you're just going to push each other. When me and my buddy Nate trained together, or me and my buddy Bennett trained together, or even when you and I trained together that day when you were here, it's like we were just going nuts. Like, we were.
Well, I even think about, like, you know, shout out to Amy. I know she listens to the podcast every once in a while, but like, her and I make it a thing to always train at least together once a month.
She's jacked.
Dude, she is jacked. We try to work out at least like once a month together. And sometimes that happens where we can do out twice a month, but I literally texted her yesterday. We worked out on Sunday together, and I was like, I
saw that you're doing Romanian deadlifts. She was doing a trap bar deadlifts. I was like,
she
shout out Amy with the trap bar.
And And I was like, I just texted her after. I was like, dude, I hope you realize like how positive this working out together has been for me. I didn't realize
That's
I needed
awesome.
this, but we've been able to push each other. It's fun. We train so similar. We have similar programs that we follow. And I just think back to, I mean, I told her this before. I take a little bit of credit. When we first started working out together, she was like, doing, again, like you said, she's jacked. She's super strong. She can, what's the exercise? Leg press, 4 plates with 225s on each side. And she was like Bulgarian split squatting like 25 pounds, like total when we first started training. I was like, and she doesn't enjoy training lower body. And so over time, we always say it was like, BC, like before Bri, or like BB before Bri, because now like she trains a lot harder. And so it just shows to prove that when you have, I mean, again, I'm a personal trainer and she trains really hard. So we're able to push each other, but just being with someone, you train so much harder. And then you get a little bit competitive. I'll be like, well, Amy's pushing 4 plates. Let me try pushing 4 plates. And I did. That was one thing recently that I was always pushing like 3-ish plates with some weight on leg press. And she's like, you can do 4 plates. I know you can. I was like, no, I really can't. She's like, just do it. And I did. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, someone who's been training with RIR for so long, I still underestimate myself sometimes. So yeah.
The other day I sent one of my buddies a video. He was like, I need a pull day. I was like, whoa, I'm doing a pull day right now. I screenshot it, sent him what I was doing. And he's one of the guys who got me into lifting. And he's like one of the people that will say, I mean, he's 40 pounds heavier than me.
Yeah.
He's big, same height. We're the same height, but he's 40 pounds heavier than me. He's a big dude. Played college football, all that. So I sent him, and I was doing pull-ups. Not the most optimal exercise, doesn't matter. I like doing pull-ups sometimes. So I did bodyweight pull-ups. I think I got I'm pretty good at pull-ups. I got like 21 pull-ups.
Yeah.
And motherfucker sends me back a video. I count them, 22. I swear to God. I was like, you suck so bad.
Did he admit to like challenging and being like, well, I saw you did 21, so I did 22? Or
no, he would never. I mean, I told him I just got 21, with some like fire emoji, and he didn't say anything back. He just sent back a video, and then I was like, you asshole. So there's only a few more things that I'm looking through our list of things that I want to talk about, and how the last thing we were going to cover is how can you start implementing. We talked about
that people are really bad at estimating it, but you talked about your study, but I felt like there was something else I wanted to dive in on that one, but I can't think of what it is.
I can't think of what it is either.
Yeah. Anyways, we had our last thing to wrap up was how you can start implementing, but I feel like I kind of talked about that with the homework that I gave.
And I think that was great. Yeah, I thought the homework was great.
If you're nervous,
I marked it, but I remarked it. Whoops.
Oh, no, you're good. If you are nervous to do that for like your whole week, then my second recommendation is pick like really stable exercises. Oh, I was gonna say pick stable exercises. Go for like your leg press, your leg extension, your leg curl, Smith machine. Try those things to failure, or like any dumbbell
machine
stuff.
Or cable exercises. Cable exercises, very, very simple.
Easy dumbbell, like dumbbell curl, shoulder press. Worst case,
I don't like dumbbell bench press at this point for me, because I have to use.
Well, yeah,
I have to use like pretty heavy dumbbells.
I'm doing 30 pounds right now, so it's not that hard for me to drop the 30
It's not that scary to drop them.
But we're repping heavy dumbbells, hundreds. Yeah, that's scary, especially if there's people next to you.
It's like if I drop these things, one, it feels like my shoulder's gonna tear. Even if I like try to dump it off to the side, it's just like it's a little bit scary. So I mean,
there's an exception to everything we say, obviously, but
Did I tell you I'm getting a new machine in the gym?
No.
I'm getting rid of the squat rack, actually, because I don't use any barbell movements anymore. Now that I'm not powerlifting, I never use barbell stuff. I use cables for like my pressing.
What are you doing with that?
Upper body.
What are you doing with that rack?
I'm going to tear it down, throw it in my shed. And then once we move into the next house, which there's no plans, if you're wondering for listeners, but we will eventually move. And when we do, I'm going to have a little bit of a bigger gym. Not sure what that upgrade looks like. And I'll put it back up there.
I was going to see what you were selling it for and how much shipping would cost.
It wouldn't even be worth it. It would be so expensive.
That's why I kind of asked what you were doing with it, because it wasn't worth asking if you were keeping it. So
yeah,
fair. You're probably right.
But it would be so much cheaper for you to just buy one from like Rogue Fitness or something like that. True. Use my affiliate link on my code, because I'm actually sponsored by Rogue Fitness.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
I know. I never talk about it.
Well, I'll keep that in mind when we start,
Yeah.
a gym
If anybody's
eventually.
looking to build a home gym, I get like 5% commission on all Rogue Fitness purchases.
Nice.
So yeah, you got to use like the specific link. I don't have a code or
So what
anything like
machine?
that, but
What's the machine?
a GBSL machine.
Hold on.
Okay.
GB some
SL.
SL, so single leg.
Nope.
Hold on. Does SL just stand for single leg? I don't know. I don't know what it is then.
No.
I feel like it's gonna be like glute something, but I don't know.
Nope.
Okay, what is it?
First word is ground.
Ground.
Yeah, I know.
GBS ground? Yeah, I have no idea. I have no guesses.
It's a ground-based squat lunge machine.
I'm Googling this immediately. What does that look like? Ground based.
So once you see it, you're gonna be like, oh. Do you know that?
I'm looking. Hold on, it hasn't pulled up yet. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Okay. So for anyone, well, you can pause the podcast and go Google it yourself. But for anyone who isn't, the only way I know how to describe this is
it's a plate loaded machine.
Okay.
And it has handles that stick out straight. They're parallel with the ground. You can grab the handles. You can do Romanian deadlifts. You can do squats. You could do like split squats. You could do lunges. You could do shrugs with it. Well, it's a GBSL machine. So if you're curious,
just Google it. I don't know why I'm explaining. If anyone's listening to a podcast, they probably have a phone that they can just Google it. So yeah, GBSL, right. Ground-based single lunge machine.
Squat
lunge. Machine. I put single lunge on here. Squat machine.
That's fine. Yeah, okay. Squat lunge.
Lunge machine. Okay.
Yeah, there are a few different names for it, but that's what it was.
Okay, why this decision for this machine? I'm sure people are interested.
So, my upper body training is totally covered by my cable machine. Yeah. I can do presses, I can do rows. There is the one thing I'll say about that is with rows, I'm using a whole lot of weight. I got to use a gym pin, got to add the weight, plates and stuff like that. So it would be nice to have like some kind of rowing machine, whether it's like a T-bar, like some kind of chest supported row T-bar, something like that. I don't have the room. And for my lower body, I don't do much unilateral work at this point. And I was doing, especially unilateral glute based work. It's, what options do we have for unilateral glute based work? It's split squats. You could do B-stands for Romanian deadlifts. You could do lunges, things like that. And I was doing a single leg press, but the weight that I need to throw on my leg press machine at this point is just ludicrous. I need to put all the weight that I have.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's really taxing because of the way that my leg press is set up. I need to put like plates on underneath my back. And so I'm being pressed down by like 800 pounds and I'm being pushed into these like really hard plates, not this padding. Yeah. And it was really messing with my back and hips to the point where it was like interfering with my training and my intensity. So I've wanted this for a while to get some single leg training in there, especially like Bulgarian split squats, especially Romanian deadlifts. I don't do Romanian deadlifts anymore because I don't have heavy enough dumbbells. 70 pounds isn't nearly heavy enough for my Romanian deadlifts. I need to throw like 315 pounds, on a barbell to start repping out. And once I get to that heavy, it kind of starts messing with my lower back a little bit. And like my form's good.
Yeah.
I'm good at deadlifts.
Yeah.
But it's just like, throwing all those plates on every single time. It's just like having certain machines for it it'll be nice. And
playing a tiny violin for you. It's so strong.
And then Bulgarian split squats, it'll just be like nice to have more stability.
Yeah, totally.
And so like anytime I can add more stability, it's like we can usually get better hypertrophy outcomes. And that's one with like split squats and Bulgarian split squats. I was getting really frustrated because I'm like, moving left and right. And so I try to hold on to like, a broom or something like that, or even like, my squat rack for extra stability. And then it's like, okay, well then I got to double the weight in my hand, so it'll just be nice to have two handles, easy setup for both Romanian deadlifts, for split squats. And it's like, I'm not even gonna lie, like legs aren't my main priority at this point. They were when I was powerlifting because we have the deadlift and the squat.
Right.
So at this point, I wouldn't say they're like a priority, but it's really just for enjoyment purposes.
Yeah.
I am loving all of my cable exercises. I wasn't using the squat rack or the barbell basically at all. Not even basically at all anymore.
Yeah.
So I figured, what can I replace here? Oh, that's it. So it was about $2,000. So,
That's awesome.
And I know that like once I have the bigger gym, I'm going to want to fill it with equipment. And so this is just a piece that I knew would take a 2-month lead time. Might as well get it ordered right now.
Yeah.
So you want to wrap it up there?
Yeah. As always, guys, leaving us a review is super, super helpful. It's giving us feedback. If you are listening right now and you have Instagram opened on your phone, go ahead and take a screenshot, post it to your stories, and tag us. It not only is a free way to support the show, but we love sharing it. We love seeing that people are listening. And then if you have any comments, feedback, whatever it may be, shoot us a DM. We love to hear those as well. Anything else that you want to add?
Should we start doing the like a Q&A kind of thing on
like
the yeah, like a poll?
Sure. Let's ask everyone who trains with RIR and who, I don't know if I get two questions.
Do you train with RIR? Yes or no?
RIR, RPE, or you don't train with that intensity at all. Or if it only allows me two, it's going to be yes or no. Do you train with RIR?
And that's only on Spotify, right?
I think so. So if you're listening on Spotify, if you scroll down, there should be a Q&A and you can answer. Because actually, we're curious with how much we've talked about this of those that are listening who already currently train with it and how many people don't. So that'd be cool to,
that would be too.
Cool to find out. So, but yeah.
Okay, well.
All right. We will see you guys on the next episode.
Take care.
Bye.